USA's withdrawal from Afghanistan and its implications for. So, someday we'll study India, Afghanistan. There we'll study these issues in more detail. Today, our focus, like when we'll study India, Afghanistan for 2.5 hours, we'll study whole of India, Afghanistan, nothing else. So, there are some subjects. For example, science and technology, environment, internal security, disaster management, agriculture, GS3 का agriculture portion, international relations, governance, for which you do not have to worry about at all. I'll cover these things from scratch. When I'll be covering India, Afghanistan, जैसे GS क्लास में आपको पढ़ाया गया होगा, उससे 5 times better तरीके से हम पढ़ाएंगे. I promise you that. Okay, but I will not be able to cover Lakshmikant in class. मैं sedition पढ़ा रहा था. I did not cover Article 19(1)(a) and all those things. That you'll have to study at your own. I'll not be covering spectrum in the class. I'll not be covering NCERT geography in the class. I'll not be covering fundamentals of economy. जो आप शंकर गणेश और एनी अदर स्टैंडर्ड बुक से आप कर सकते हो. तो ये 4 सब्जेक्ट्स के जो स्टैटिक चीजें हैं ना, वो एंड एथिक्स दैट यू डू एट योर ओन. लेट एवरीथिंग एल्स बी माय रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. आई विल कवर इट. लाइक if you want, you can go to last year's disaster management videos. Last year, on 15th or 16th of October, right after preliminary examination, we had put some disaster management videos on our YouTube channel. You'll see that each and everything that you need for your preparation was there. Whole of disaster management that is required for your examination, we have covered it. I'll be doing it for your batch also. तो अब disaster management के लिए इधर उधर नहीं भटकना है. I promise you, your friends would be asking for your notes for disaster management, for internal security, for international relations, for science and technology, for environment. They'll be asking for your notes कि भाई दे दो कुछ. हमारे यहाँ तो कुछ पढ़ाया नहीं क्या. Your friends would be doing that. Okay, in the same way, for international relations, let it be my concern. You focus on the traditional subjects, your optional, and let these things be my concern. अच्छे से पढ़ेंगे. By now you would have understood that we will not study anything superficially. Gender responsive budgeting क्या है, उसके 5 advantages, 5 limitation करके मैं जा सकता था. But we have gone through gender responsive budgeting in proper manner. This is how we'll be dealing with each and every subject. Now come to, we'll be covering India, Afghanistan separately. Here our focus is on this US withdrawing its troops from Afghanistan and its implications. So USA, 9/11 happened. The Al-Qaeda had attacked World Trade Centers. To take revenge for that, USA had first entered Afghanistan. USA had entered Afghanistan way back in 2001. 2001 में आए थे ना? Way back in 2001 to take revenge from Al-Qaeda, from Osama bin Laden against the terrorist attack in USA. That mission eventually converted into a mission for stabilizing Afghanistan, creating a democratic government in Afghanistan. So they were successful in the first attempt. They destroyed Al-Qaeda, they killed Osama bin Laden. It was the second attempt of stabilizing Afghanistan, creating a democratic government in Afghanistan, is something where USA has failed. And now, even over the years, it has realized that it won't be possible to completely defeat Taliban. Defeating Al-Qaeda and killing Osama bin Laden was okay, but completely defeating Taliban is not possible. They have been in Afghanistan for 20 years. A lot of soldiers have died. Billions and billions and billions of dollars have been spent. So, after everything, now they have decided that we'll be leaving Afghanistan. The US forces would be leaving Afghanistan. Now, when they're leaving Afghanistan, very few, like 2-3 years ago, in 2017 only, they had Trump administration had come up with a South Asian strategy where they had provided for an open-ended commitment in Afghanistan. In America's South Asia strategy, they had provided for open-ended commitment, means they had said that we'll stay in Afghanistan till the time we are not able to reach our goals in Afghanistan. They had provided for this open-ended commitment. But very soon, because of the domestic pressure, they gave up on this commitment. In fact, when Trump had announced withdrawal of American forces, initially when Trump had announced withdrawal of American forces, he had announced that this withdrawal will be conditional on two things. One, Taliban will not allow Al-Qaeda or other terrorist forces to operate from Afghanistan. And second, Taliban will agree to have a dialogue on power sharing with the government of Afghanistan, with the government that is ruling in Kabul right now. When Trump had announced that by 1st of May we'll withdraw all our forces, he had put these two conditions. But Biden, when he has announced that America will be withdrawing from Afghanistan, there is no condition, that is no strings attached. There is no condition as such. They are withdrawing. Chahe aap kuch karo na karo, we are withdrawing before the 20th anniversary of the attack, before September 11, 2021. I'm sorry. It started in 2001. So before the 20th anniversary of the September 11 attack, the US forces would be out. But how did US reach this situation? How did US reach this? What situation? Where they are giving up everything and going away. Taliban has not been destroyed. Taliban is enhancing, increasing its strength. There are very good chances that Taliban will not even have dialogues with the government and will take over the government. And Taliban rule would come back in Afghanistan. Why is US allowing this to happen? There are a number of factors, but it is happening mostly because in the US administrative circle, there was a dilemma. What are we trying to do in Afghanistan? Are we just taking revenge there, or are we there on a nation building exercise where democracy would be brought? This dilemma was never clarified. Yeah, nation building is one of the goals for which we are there. And therefore, even if this nation building has failed, they are going out. But what are the reasons? Why is US going out? First of all, they have fulfilled their realist objectives. Realist objective was taking the revenge, destroying Al-Qaeda, killing Osama bin Laden. Second is, they have realized that Taliban cannot be defeated. It's not feasible for them to defeat Taliban. Before 2011-10, when they had lakhs of people, lakhs of armed forces there in US, when they were not able to defeat Taliban then, now they have a few thousand soldiers. How the hell would they defeat Taliban? They've realized that defeating Taliban is not possible. Afghanistan was a graveyard for superpowers, for empires. Britain faced a lot of problem there when Britain was the world superpower. Russia faced a lot of problem. USA has also faced a lot of problems. They have achieved their realistic goals, but they have also realized that defeating Taliban is not possible. Haath jodo aur niklo. But there's another important factor why they are going out. Focus of USA's foreign policy is shifting to Asia Pacific and East. Their geopolitical contest with China is going to happen more in East Asia, South China Sea, freedom of navigation. Afghanistan is no more geopolitically that important as it was in 2000. In 2000, China was not a big part. Russia was their major concern. And that's why in 1980s, Russia wanted a strategic role in Afghanistan to prevent US influence. Then US, in the name of destroying Taliban, in the name of destroying Al-Qaeda, went in there. Because strategically for US, staying very near to Russia was important. Not allowing Russia to increase their penetration in this area was important. But now, geopolitically, for US, the major challenge is China. And it wants to deal with that challenge rather than getting involved here. So why are they going out? They're going out for three broad reasons. One, the realistic objectives that they could achieve, they have achieved it. They've destroyed Al-Qaeda, they've killed Osama bin Laden. Other objective that they had, they know that they would not be able to achieve it. Taliban ko harana possible nahi reh gaya hai. It's clear to them. They are now talking to Taliban. Even after when we go out, we could be on good terms. And third, focus of their foreign policy is changing. Their major geopolitical challenge is coming from China now rather than it coming from Russia. And that's why they do not want to remain bogged in. That's why they are withdrawing. Now, there are very high chances that Taliban will come back to power in Afghanistan. Taliban is slowly increasing its geographical reach. Afghan defense forces are getting weakened every day. So, if Taliban comes to power, will it be different from Taliban which ruled in Afghanistan from in late 1990s to 2001? Will it be different in any way? So, in the peace deal between US and Taliban, Taliban has offered a lip service that it will not allow international terrorist groups or individuals like Al-Qaeda or ISIS from using Afghan soil. It will not allow them to use Afghan soil. Further, they have also promised this kind of thing, ki, Afghanistan will not be allowed for terrorist activities even against countries in Central Asia, countries in Iran, Russia, China, and so on. They have said this. Taliban has said this. But when we look at what Taliban is doing, the moment they are capturing a new village, the moment they are extending their geographical reach, what they are doing, they are following the traditional thing that they were earlier doing. They are doing mass murders. They are asking the people of that village to bring in all the girls who are more than 15 years of age, or all the widows who are less than 35 or 45 years of age, who could be married to Taliban fighters. They are imposing Sharia. They are preventing women from going out without a male companion. All the things that they used to do in 1996 to 2001 wala phase, they are repeating the same thing again. And thus, there is very high chance that their behavior will still be medieval, as was the case in the previous Taliban regime. So, how is this US withdrawal going to impact India? This is important. अभी तक जो चीजें हमने पढ़ी, those were just for our understanding purposes. For exam, what is important? This is important that how is US withdrawal from Afghanistan going to impact India? In your exam, these would be the key points that you will be asked and you'll have to write. US का withdrawal from Afghanistan क्या-क्या challenges लेके आ सकता है? First is, Afghanistan is in our neighborhood. If it's unstable, it would be problematic for us. If there is civil war going on there, violence going on very near to us, Afghan refugees would come, वहां से terrorist India में आएंगे, a lot of problems would be there. So it is problematic for us. More importantly, Taliban may come back to. Taliban may come back. It's a major concern for us because Taliban has had anti-India policy. Now, please note this. I'm not saying that Taliban will defeat the government, the existing government. But even if it's not defeating the existing government and a peace agreement is signed, Taliban is a major force in Afghanistan right now. It is much stronger than what it was when US had entered Afghanistan. So if Taliban is not able to come to power by defeating the current government, it will come to power by a peace agreement where some kind of power sharing between the current government and Taliban, which controls around 50% of the geography there, would be there. So Taliban would be coming back to power, and India has problematic relations with Taliban. You could understand it from the fact that Taliban is supported a lot by ISI, Pakistan's intelligence agency. Taliban has had objectionable policies in the past, which India has opposed. India being a liberal democratic country has always opposed those positions, and the IC 814 hijack in 1999 was a clear indication of Taliban being anti-India, Taliban harassing. So Taliban coming back to power in Afghanistan, either through violence or through peace deal, through any way would be problematic for India, because traditionally India has not had good relations with Taliban. We do not even talk to them. बाकी सारे forces उनसे बात कर रहे होते, we do not even do that. Then Pakistan may regain its strategic depth in Taliban, in Afghanistan. Now, what is this strategic depth? What is this strategic depth that we're talking? See, Pakistan regaining the strategic depth को पहले थोड़ा सा समझ लेते हैं. Let's say this is India. I'm not very good at maps and all. This is India. On this side we have Pakistan. Right? On this side we have Pakistan. This map actually is something like, map is actually, this is Pakistan. So strategic depth, and this is Afghanistan. When we talk about Pakistan gaining strategic depth in Afghanistan, there are two components. One is military strategic depth, other is non-military strategic. So military strategic depth is this. Pakistan feels that in case India invades, attacks Pakistan, then Pakistani forces, if they have influence in Afghanistan, they'll be able to enter Afghanistan, regroup there and fight back. This strategic depth they would have, which they do not have in their own territory, because the northern Pakistan is narrow, geographically very narrow. They will not be able to retreat within Pakistan, they'll have to enter Afghanistan. This is military strategic depth. But there is non-military strategic depth also. If Pakistan has influence in Afghanistan, Pakistan feels that it would be easy for them to be in alliance with other Central Asian countries against India. So Pakistan is going to regain its strategic depth in Afghanistan, which will hinder India's strategic position. We're talking about what will be the impact of US leaving Afghanistan on India. We're saying that it would be problematic for India because, one, we do not have good relations with Taliban. Two, Pakistan has good relations with Taliban, and thus Pakistan would be able to get its strategic depth back, both military and non-military, in Afghanistan vis-a-vis. Then there is China's influence is also increasing in Afghanistan. China has always been in talks with Afghanistan. Very recently, in July 2021 only, Chinese foreign minister had met a delegation from Taliban, where the foreign minister had declared Taliban as a pivotal military and political force in Afghanistan, and had said that it was expected to play an important role in the process of peace, reconciliation and reconstruction. In fact, Taliban had also promised that they will not allow a land of Afghanistan to be used for anti-China activities. So we see increased cooperation between Taliban and China also. Again, problems for India. China is also a country which is having a very contentious relation with India. तो पाकिस्तान और चाइना दोनों का इन्फ्लुएंस अगर अफगानिस्तान में बढ़ता है, अफगानिस्तान इज अ कंट्री which for us acts as gateway of Central Asia. We suffer there. We face problems. Okay, then ये कौन है जो एकदम दीपक कुमार शाह? तो जाओ आराम से, और वीडियो तो बंद कर लो बेशर्म आदमी. एकदम आराम से ऐसे लेट के मूवी जैसे चल रही है वैसे क्लास देख. चलिए कहाँ थे हम? We were talking about the problems which India would face after the US withdraws. पाकिस्तान का इन्फ्लुएंस वहां बढ़ना, चाइना का इन्फ्लुएंस वहां बढ़ना. The recent activities of China is also showing that. Then security situation in Kashmir may worsen. Why? How would security situation in Kashmir would worsen? See, right now Taliban forces as well as jihadi forces from Pakistan are fighting US or the डिफेंस फोर्सेस ऑफ अफगानिस्तान, अफगान गवर्नमेंट. बट एक बार उनका कंट्रोल आ गया, where do those people go? Let's export them to Kashmir. This has happened in the past. This may happen again. So situation may become troubling in Kashmir. Terrorist activities in Kashmir may go up. In fact, some experts feel that one of the reasons that we abolished Section 370, special status of Jammu and Kashmir, because it has realized that eventually US would go away, these problems would occur. Central government needs to have more control over Jammu and Kashmir in order to deal with these emerging problems, these emerging concerns. Then India has a lot of investment in Afghanistan. There is economical investment. India over the last 20 years have invested around $3 billion in Afghanistan. There are dams it has built, there are parliamentary buildings it has built, there are libraries it has built, there are schools, hospitals that it has built. But more important are the political and diplomatic investment. Be it Hamid Karzai government, be it Ghani government, India has had extremely good relations with Afghanistan. And thus, chances of Afghanistan being used for anti-India activities were less. But now, India, if Taliban is able to get to power there, either peacefully through peaceful talks or through dialogues or by civil war or violent activities, India investment in Afghanistan may go up in maybe. Then, India, some of you may be knowing about Chabar port that we are developing in Iran, that we were developing in Iran. So again, let's say this is India. Here we have Pakistan. Here we have Pakistan. Here we have Afghanistan. And here we have Iran. Right? So in order to reach Afghanistan, because Pakistan used to create a barrier for us and a lot of जो इंडिया का बॉर्डर अफगानिस्तान से टच करता है उसे भी पाकिस्तान ने ऑक्यूपाई कर रखा है. So to reach Afghanistan easily, we were also developing a port in Iran. We were developing a port in Iran. But Iran and US have certain problematic concerns between them. And thus, US has imposed a lot of sanctions on Iran. By US imposing sanctions, it prevents countries to deal economically with Iran. If a company is dealing economically with Iran, it will not be able to deal with US. So for any company, dealing with US is more important because it's a much larger economy. So when India is developing this Chabar port here, right now it is able to get exemption for this investment because India says that it will improve our connectivity with Afghanistan. But when USA goes out of Afghanistan, then for USA, connectivity with Afghanistan is not important. And the exemption that it has provided for India's investment in Iran in the name of connectivity to Afghanistan may also go away. So India's investment in other areas may also because of this. Okay, I hope you've understood what are the ways in which US withdrawal may negatively impact. There are ways in which US withdrawal may impact Pakistan also. There are some positive impacts for Pakistan. Like Pakistan will have more bargaining power with vis-a-vis USA. Why? Because when USA leaves everything in Afghanistan, it would want some bases in the nearby areas. And Pakistan will appear as one of the places. So Pakistan will have more bargaining power now vis-a-vis USA. Similarly, we have already talked about the fact that Taliban is a organization which is very friendly, which is run by Pakistan, which used to be run by Pakistan till 2001. It's very friendly with Pakistan, and thus Pakistan would be able to gain its strategic depth, and those advantages would be there. But there would be some negative impact also on Pakistan. First, if the civil war happens in Pakistan, if the security forces, the defense forces of Afghanistan and Taliban end up fighting with each other, in that case, a lot of refugees would be moving to Pakistan. This had happened in 1996-2001 period also, and Pakistan is not able to deal with those refugees. A country which is in such a bad shape. If more refugees would come, it would be problematic for Pakistan. Then there is a Taliban branch, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP), which is anti-Pakistan and which is fighting from Pakistan, there are chances that Taliban may support Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Pakistan may also face problems. So there are some good things about for Pakistan because of US withdrawal, but Pakistan may also face certain issues, certain negative impact. So what should India be doing? Like, how does India deal with US withdrawal from Afghanistan? How do we deal with that? TTP. Sohini Ganguly is typing TTP. What is TTP, bacha? TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. TTP का full form ही तो बता रहे हैं. I have not used the word TTP. In notes, TTP is used. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Okay. Then she has a question related to private. I will talk about the previous topic by the end of this class. For now, let's complete it. So what should be the way forward for India? How does India deal with this situation? How do we deal with this situation? First, we'll have to go for a layered approach. Our first priority should be bringing out our people from there. If the country goes into civil war, we have human resource there. Investment तो आप नहीं निकाल के ला सकते, but उनको safety. So first priority should be safety and security of our personnel. A second priority would be finding political solution. Civil war kind of situation where Taliban is eventually able to win, bad for. And the current situation where Taliban has upper hand, why would they go for peace talk? When they have upper hand, they feel that they will be able to defeat Afghani forces. They would not go for peace talks, dialogues and everything. They'll keep on progressing. Rural areas, more or less, they have captured. It's some urban areas where they have not been able to penetrate. So we have to take efforts to ensure that a political solution comes, where the current Afghan government and Taliban comes to some peace talks and are able to get to some power sharing. That is the best solution for us. Best solution is Taliban haar jaye, but that's not something viable. When world's biggest military alliance that has ever existed, nowhere at any time in the history of humankind such a big military alliance had ever, na bada NATO, and it was not able to defeat Taliban. Expecting that by providing external support to Afghan government will be able to defeat Taliban is childish. Therefore, our focus perhaps should be on coming to a political solution. But if this is not able to happen, we will have to go for the non-conventional method as we did in the past. In the past, when Taliban was coming to power in Afghanistan, was in the process of coming to power in Afghanistan in early 90s, we were supporting another alliance which was fighting against Taliban, that was called Northern Alliance. Now, Russia, Iran, India, they were all supporting Northern Alliance. We'll have to do something like that. That is the worst case scenario that we have. So we will have to go for a layered approach. Now, uske liye first thing in the way forward, the first thing that we have is continue with our close bilateral consultation. जो अफगान गवर्नमेंट से हमारे रिलेशंस हैं उसे हमें अभी कंटिन्यू रखना है. These may not give us dramatic results very quickly, but over the years these would have positive impact. Second thing is, don't hesitate from using hard power. So far, we have followed the soft power strategy. We are developing hospitals, we are developing schools, we are developing parliamentary buildings, we are developing dams. We are helping Afghanistan, but we haven't come up very openly in supporting Afghanistan militarily. Like, we should increase the number of soldiers that we are training for Afghanistan. We should increase financial support. We should increase support in terms of defense and military equipment. We should increase collaboration, cooperation in terms of sharing intelligence. We should provide them more helicopters, more planes, and so on. These are certain things that we can think of doing, because it's very important for us that people who support us in Afghanistan remain in Afghanistan, have some influence in Afghanistan. Complete control of Taliban would be problematic for us. So we can even think of broadening our horizon into the hard methods rather than the soft power approach. Then one concern would become India may not have enough resources to support the Afghan government like that. We may not have enough resources, but a number of countries in the region have similar issues with Taliban, have similar concerns when it comes to Taliban. For example, you would see China का एक Xinjiang province है जो अफगानिस्तान के just बगल में है. It is Muslim dominated and it also faces this radical issues. There, China is somehow worried if Taliban comes to power. Though Taliban has said that we will not allow any anti-China activities to happen from here. But if Taliban is successful and Taliban is able to radicalize Afghanistan, then the support may also be transmitted to the radical groups in the Chinese region. Similarly, Russia is also worried that Afghanistan के बगल में जो स्तान countries हैं, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and all those things, which used to be part of USSR, they may face problems because of the civil war here, because of the refugee, because of militants moving in there, militants reaching there, and so on. Iran. Now, Iran is the world Shia leader country. Islam is divided into two broad groups, Shias and Sunnis. Iran is the world's Shia leader country. सऊदी अरेबिया सुन्नी का लीडर होता है, इसलिए ईरान सऊदी अरेबिया में बनती नहीं. And Taliban is a Sunni Devband group, which is very opposed to Shia Iran. So right now, Iran and Taliban are on talking terms, but ideologically they would be very different in terms of sectarian aspect. In terms of for Taliban, for Iran, Taliban would always be a challenge. So now even Russia is talking to Taliban. Taliban has emerged as an important player now. Even Russia is talking, Iran is talking, but they all would face similar concerns that India is facing. What India needs to do is, India needs to align with these in providing support to the Afghan government. We should try to do it at our own, but at the same time, it may not be possible. We do not have enough resources, enough manpower to do that, and therefore we may do it through this alliance, through these regional countries. Is it a wrong spelling? S-O-N-N-I. Acha, Sunni. Okay. Okay, I'll correct it. It's S-U-N-N-I, not Sunny. Sunny Leon wala Sunny nahi hai. Okay, so another way forward, another point that I'm trying to say is, one, India should play hardball itself, but at the same time, it may not be possible for India. India doesn't have enough resources. जब US के पास इतने resources नहीं थे, India के पास कैसे आ जाएंगे? So regional players need to come in together to deal with the problem of rising Afghanistan. Then Central Asian countries, the Stan countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Taliban has been able to get in touch with them, it's talking to them, but they have similar issues. Like they are worried that if battles happen at their borders, if the country would not become safe haven for jihadists, like Afghanistan would become safe haven for jihadists, there would be spill over radicalism into their own countries. These are also Islamic countries, but not radical. The Stan countries, the Central Asian countries, they were in the USSR influence. So religion does not play that big a role. But those places may also get radicalized, and therefore all these countries are part of SCO. China is part of SCO, Russia is part of SCO, Stan countries are part of SCO, India is part of SCO. SCO as a grouping can play an important role in stabilizing Afghanistan, what we need to do is these countries, India, China, Russia, Iran, these Stan countries, we need to relook at our divergent policy towards Taliban. China is trying to cooperate with Taliban, Iran is also trying to cooperate with Taliban, but somehow Taliban would create problems for all of them if it's able to come to power at its own, not as part of peace agreement. If it's able to defeat the current government and it's able to come to power there, it would create problems for us. So all these countries need to revisit their divergent policy towards Taliban. If the SCO countries don't converge on Taliban, if they do not come on a same policy to Taliban, the prevalence of peace in Afghanistan as well as neighboring countries will be hard to find. And if in fact SCO's, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, has a regional anti-terrorist structure, RATS, through which the SCO countries have agreed to cooperate in fighting terrorism, and Taliban more or less is a terrorist. So we need to cooperate with these countries there. But at the same time, while we are trying to support the current Afghanistan government, we have to be very pragmatic and be ready for all possibilities. And one of those possibilities is Taliban coming to. It's a very high probability, there are very good chances that Taliban may come to power. We have to be ready for that also. We have to initiate talks with them. Some people say that nahin, Taliban is a terrorist organization, they are a medieval organization who treat women so badly and all. Therefore, we should not talk to them. It is in control of Pakistan and will never do anything which is good for India. We will not talk. But we'll look into this debate in the next topic. But there are other groups which say that nahin, we need to talk to them to ensure that when they come to power, it should not happen that India is not even able to get in touch with them. When they come to power, and if India is in conversation with them, India can say, "Yaar, ye parliament ki building kyun tod rahe ho? Tumhare desh mein hai. Why are you destroying this dam?" We should be able to talk to them to ensure that our interests are not. We'll look at this debate in more details, but we should be not looking at only one outcome. We should be prepared for different outcomes, and one of the outcomes would be Taliban coming to power, and that's why our talks with Taliban should also. Okay, here again I've given two kinds of conclusion. One is, don't get discouraged. Afghanistan mein things keep on changing. Right now Taliban may be having upper hand. For next few years Taliban may be having upper hand. But in Afghanistan, alliances and allegiance keep shifting, equation keep changing, interests keep getting redefined all the time. And therefore, we should be ready to grab an opportunity to ensure our national interest. So the current situation would also be giving us certain opportunities. एक और दूसरा हमने वो दिया है conclusion कि we should go for a broad base, we should broaden our options, we should go for a layered approach जहाँ पे we are protecting our civilians, our investment and all, but at the same time broaden our horizon, and while supporting Afghan government with whom we have good relations, we should also start talks with Taliban. It's something like this. This is Bangladesh mein. There's Awami League which is ruling, Sheikh Hasina's government. Then there is BNP, Bangladesh National Party. So जब Bangladesh National Party rule में आती है तो India-Bangladesh relations get very bad. That should not happen. We should even be talking to them. While we have good relations with, like USA, when Congress is in power, it talks to Congress. When BJP is in power, it talks to BJP. The same way, when India is having relations with Bangladesh, it should not have good relations only with one political party. In the same way, in Afghanistan, while we are having good relations with the current ruling regime there, a future ruling regime there, a future power there would be there, may come there, and we should have conversation with them. At the same time, we should keep supporting the current government either at our own or through the regional alliance, through the like-minded countries who would have similar interest when compared to India in this area, in this region. Okay, Now we'll look at this issue in more detail. Should we be talking to Taliban? Taliban, medieval, brutal, inhuman organization. Are we not left with any morality that we are in beds with them? Should we be talking to Taliban? That's okay. So there are various arguments for not talking to Taliban. And over the years, we haven't done it. They were involved in the hijack wala thing. They are in control of Pakistan and thus would never support India. Their principles, policies, governance mechanism which happened in Afghanistan between 96 to 2001 was really bad, and as a democratic, liberal democratic country, we can never get engaged with them. These are very pure ideas, puritanical ideas. Ideal world में हम ये follow करते, but in real practical world, this would not work. And in fact, we have started giving up these puritanical policy towards Taliban already. You would see over the last 3 years, we have tried to ensure that we are talking to Taliban. In 2018, when Russia had organized a conference where Taliban was there, where members of Afghan High Peace Council was there, the Afghan government se log the, and there were other countries of the region which were also there. India also sent a non-official delegation in the form of 2 retired diplomats there. Taliban वहां था, हम बात करना चाह रहे थे indirectly. In fact, in September 2020, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar was in Doha when inaugural session of intra-Afghan negotiation were taking place. In June 2021, that is last month, reports have indicated that India has started reaching out to Taliban. It is said that that India has started reaching out to Taliban was indirectly confirmed by External Affairs Ministry when it was asked a question that are we in touch with Taliban? It said that we are in touch with various stakeholders in pursuance of our long-term commitment towards development and reconstruction of Afghanistan. So various stakeholders में Taliban भी होगा. Right? So we have already left that puritanical approach कि नहीं, that's a bad organization. That's a terrorist organization, we should not be talking to them. We have become more practical, and examples of this practicality can be seen here. But we have not yet come openly in saying that we are talking to Taliban. There are various reasons for it. One is that we have very good terms with present Afghanistan government. And if we start openly getting in bed with Taliban, talking to Taliban, we may make President Ashraf Ghani move towards Pakistan or China in their orbit. We don't want to do that. We have very good relations with this Afghan government. वो होता है कि हाथ में एक लड्डू बेटर है rather than 4 लड्डू कहीं और होने के, something like this जो होता है. तो जो भी हमारे पास है उसे अच्छे से प्रोटेक्ट करो. Second, we do not have a clarity on who should we talk to Taliban with. तालिबान के फाइटिंग फोर्सेस अलग हैं, तालिबान का क्वेटा शूरा है about which with which we do not have any contact as such, which is very anti-India and so on. So we have not openly come up on this issue. Then there is a global shame associated with talking to an inhuman organization, an organization which treats women as slaves and all. उनके साथ बात करना global recognition affect होता है. Then there is little clarity on what Taliban's real intention are. Would there be any change when compared to what was happening in 96 and 2001? And finally, we are also worried that if we get involved more with Taliban, Pakistan may get involved more with separatist organizations in Kashmir. For these reasons, we say that we have not yet openly come in favor of talking to Taliban, but international relation experts like Happymon Jacob says that no, we should openly start talking to Taliban. Why should we openly start talking to Taliban? Because it is important. Taliban has more or less defeated the sole superpower of the world. USA is leaving Afghanistan. So Taliban is going to remain important there, and it makes eminent sense that we accept the reality and we start talking to them to ensure that India's national interest would not be. Then a large number of global players. In 1996 to 2001 period, there were only 3 countries which had recognized Taliban rule. Which were those 3 countries? Pakistan, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. But now a number of important countries, USA is talking to them. USA उनसे तो लड़ रहा था आके. USA is talking to them, Russia is talking to them, China is talking to them, Iran is talking to them, everyone is talking to them. All the major players are talking to them. So we should also start talking to them. We also have to protect our interests, including civilian assets. And if Taliban comes to power and if we are not even talking to them, protecting this would be difficult. And then Taliban is much more powerful now. Now, here comes an interesting aspect. Earlier, Taliban was completely controlled by ISI or Pakistan. But Taliban is much more powerful now. And there are chances that Taliban would not remain in control of Pakistan as much as it used to be in the 1990s. There are voices in Taliban which are saying, which are unhappy about Pakistan having so much influence. So if we, and Taliban is looking for different stakeholders, different players in the region with which they can work. So Pakistan was able to have a lot of control over Taliban because there were no other players who were ready to work with them. And thus Taliban had become anti-India as well. So this time Taliban is more powerful. It may not be ready to give up everything for the sake of Pakistan. And if India starts talking to them, then there are higher chances that Pakistan's influence on Taliban would not be that much. But if India keeps on alienating Taliban, then Pakistan's influence on Taliban and thus Taliban's anti-India attitude would be further strengthened. And therefore, we should start talking to. Would Taliban be interested in talking to us? Yes, it needs recognition. उस टाइम 3 कंट्री रिकॉग्नाइज कर रही थी उन्हें. जब अमेरिका ने अटैक किया, नो वन सेड एनीथिंग बिकॉज नो वन रिकॉग्नाइज देम एज जेन्युइन रूलर्स देयर. It would need recognition, and a liberal democratic country like India, if it is talking to them, it gives them recognition. But there are experts, other experts who say that keep social distance from Taliban. It's a terrorist organization. It's too much dependent on Pakistan. If we start talking to them, we'll lose the existing friends in Afghanistan. And there are whole moral, philosophical and political issues. Moral, philosophical, वही कि यार, how can you get associated with this kind of grouping? That is the major moral, philosophical issue that we have to deal with. तो जो हमने शुरू में बोला था कि why are we not talking to Taliban openly right now? The same issues have been raised here. There is hardly any evidence to show that Taliban has graduated into a more evolved organization. It will not stoop to the same levels as it stooped to in the earlier regime. So here again in the conclusion we are saying that India's engagement with Taliban may or may not achieve much, but we should start talking because not talking to them is anyways going to be harmful. अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं तो something positive may come out, but not talking to them is not good for our national interest. So we may keep supporting through a regional grouping or by at our own the other party there, the government there, but at the same time we should not completely alienate Taliban. We should start some conversation with them about India's future role in. That is it. तो आज यही रुकते हैं. 2 hours की क्लास थी, थोड़ा ज्यादा हो गया because of the introduction section. Anyways, let me take the doubts. निशेक ने हाथ उठा रखा है. निशेक जी बताइए, what is your doubt? मुझे आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रही है? क्या निशेक की आवाज किसी और को आ रही है? किसी को नहीं आ रही है निशेक आपकी आवाज? अनम्यूट कर रखा है आपने आपको। निशेक आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, आप चैट में ही डाउट्स भेजो। कोई और डाउट्स गाइस? किसी और का कोई और डाउट? नो? चलिए, देन आई विल सी यू ऑन सैटरडे, नेक्स्ट सैटरडे 11:30 to 2 we'll have our class. सैटरडे संडे दोनों दिन क्लास होगी, तो इट विल गो ऑन लाइक दिस. इट इज द फर्स्ट वीक, तो मैं अभी कोई असाइनमेंट नहीं देता हूँ. जनरली आई विल गिव यू असाइनमेंट फॉर द ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट. एवरी वीक विल हैव टेस्ट, तो इस वीक ज्यादा पढ़ा नहीं है अभी, तो आई विल गिव यू असाइनमेंट फॉर द नेक्स्ट टेस्ट अलॉन्ग विद द असाइनमेंट फॉर करंट अफेयर्स. के करंट अफेयर्स के ये बुकलेट्स आएंगे टेस्ट में. आई वुड ऑल्सो गिव यू सम स्टैटिक पोर्शन इन टेस्ट सेल. तो एक एक करके हम स्टैटिक पोर्शन भी कंप्लीट करते जाएंगे थ्रू टेस्ट. तो let's say next week I'll give you another booklet, August part 2. So syllabus would include booklet August 1, booklet August 2, plus a few chapters of Lakshmika. Well, let's start with polity. We'll first finish polity, 2 tests before we jump on to other subjects. So idea is like when you have joined this current affairs program, your focus should be on eventual selection, not only on current affairs. तो current affairs में बहुत strong हो जाओ, पर static portion ignore कर दो, वो सही नहीं रहेगा. So in the test we'll also provide you. Okay, so guys, I'll see you on Saturday then. आप WhatsApp ग्रुप में सब लोग हैं, वहां पे डाउट्स डालिए. देखिए, उस ग्रुप को ऐसे यूज नहीं करना है गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड इवनिंग, हैप्पी बर्थडे, हैप्पी दिवाली, हैप्पी होली, ये सब कुछ भी अलाउड नहीं है वहां पे. वहां पे बस अपने डाउट्स डालिए, कोई दूसरा स्टूडेंट सॉल्व कर देगा, वो डिस्कशन करिए. एंड प्रेफर दैट डोंट डू इट ऑन व्हाट्सएप, डू इट ऑन टेलीग्राम. टेलीग्राम पे अपने डाउट्स डालिए, वहां पे कॉन्वर्सेशन बड़ा करिए. लेट्स कीप व्हाट्सएप ओनली फॉर आवर वेरी फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन की आज क्लास है, इतने बजे है, ये नोट्स हैं, वो सारी चीजें. ओके. सोहिनी इज आस्किंग सर प्लीज एक्सप्लेन एससीओ. बेटा विल स्टडी एससीओ सेपरेटली, Shanghai Cooperation Organization separately, but this is an organization which includes 8 countries, which are China, Russia, the 5 of the 5 stan countries, 4 countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Which is the country which is not here? Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan remains very neutral. This is a country which does not get involved in any of the political groupings. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Pakistan and India. These are the 8 countries which are part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Initially, it was formed with these countries. Pakistan and India have joined later. In fact, Uzbekistan ने भी बाद में join किया था. Initially, these were the countries with which this organization was formed. It's a security organization. जिसका focus Central Asian security पे था initially. Now, its horizon through on which it is cooperating has expanded. So we will study SCO separately in detail. It is part of your syllabus. तो अभी यहाँ पे इसमें जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस इतना समझो, Shanghai Cooperation Organization is an organization with these 8 countries. Iran is not a member here, not among these 8 countries, but Iran is an observer country here. So it is said that Afghanistan की stability में the neighboring countries, which includes these SCO countries, can play an important role, a very important role. And the SCO countries should come on the same policy to be really successful in Afghanistan. Okay guys, chaliye, there are more doubts which are coming. Yashwardhan is asking, sir, can you discuss briefly that what is the best way structure to write answers? देखो, answers लिखने के लिए ना, start with 3 principles for now. We'll keep improving upon that. When you'll keep writing, you'll keep getting feedback, and accordingly you'll keep improving. First thing, like you people are beginning your preparation and all, first thing, always focus on word limit. I know the questions that I have given, most of the students, what they do is 150 वर्ड का क्वेश्चन है, 400 वर्ड का लिख के लाके देते हैं। पागल वागल हो क्या? You will not have that much time in UPSC. You'll only be able to write 8 answers out of 20 if you follow this. Write in word limit. Take your time. Time कितना भी लो. If you have written an answer in 450 words rather than 150 words, rewrite it, rewrite it, rewrite it. Eventually you'll understand that बहुत कम जानना होता है, बहुत कम पढ़ना होता है सिविल सर्विसेज के लिए, because ज़्यादा लिखने का टाइम ही नहीं रहता ना, स्पेस होता. So first thing that you do is write like this in word limit. Second is follow a general principle. Introduction, कोर बॉडी एंड कंक्लूजन. उसमें डिवीजन क्या होना चाहिए? रफली इंट्रो शुड नेवर गो बियॉन्ड 20% ऑफ योर आंसर. इट शुड नेवर गो बियॉन्ड दैट. So if an answer is of one, if the word limit in answer is 150, intro should not be beyond 30 words. Conclusion should not be beyond 30 words. That is 20% and 20%. The core of your answer should be more than 60%. So this should be 20% or less, this should be 20% or less, and the core of your answer, the thing which has been asked, should be more than 60. Third, write. Start writing. Start writing today. You would see that by the time you reach February, you will be very comfortable in answer. I'm promising you, लिखना शुरू करो, एक एक feedback. See, ऐसे समझो. Suppose today your answer is very bad. If it's very bad, how many mistakes you would have done? Let's say 100 mistakes. Word limit nahi, ye nahi, wo nahi. If you improve on one mistake every day, if I give you one feedback, and if you improve on one mistake every day, in 100 days, in next 3 months, you would have removed all those errors from your answer, all those limitations from your answer. So start writing. People who will be successful in this exam would be the people who would keep writing. देखो, prelims is my responsibility. मैं करा दूंगा, मैं पढ़ा दूंगा, पर मैं आपके आंसर्स लिख नहीं सकता. That will मेंस के लिए पढ़ाऊंगा पूरा, but आंसर्स लिखना आपका काम है. And writing answers would create a lot of difference. You start writing answers today. Look 100 days later, look at your first answer, you will realize ये क्या shit लिखा था मैंने. You yourself would improve so much. So today we have covered 3 topics, 3 or 4 topics, and we have a question before each of those topics. एक आंसर लिखो ना रोज. Let's say today all of you go home and write the answer on sedition and put it on the Telegram group. I'll ask Dashrath sir to prioritize that Telegram group जहाँ पे आप आंसर लिख के स्कैन करके फोटो खींच के डाल रहे हो. I'll go through those answers and we'll keep improving step by step on that. रोज एक एक आंसर पे फीडबैक लो ना. आप देखो 100 डेज में कितने अच्छे हो जाते हैं आपके आंसर राइटिंग. नेक्स्ट वीक से यू विल आल्सो हैव द ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट वाला सेक्शन. उसमें नॉट ओनली विल यू बी प्रिपेयरिंग स्टैटिक पोर्शन बट आल्सो करंट अफेयर्स. व्हाट एल्स डू यू नीड फ्रॉम अ प्रोग्राम? यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट, यू आर राइटिंग आंसर्स, यू आर एग्जॉस्टिवली कवरिंग करंट अफेयर्स. राइट, चलिए I'll end. अच्छा, और डाउट्स हैं तो आंसर राइटिंग आपको रफली बताया गया है. ये 3 चीजें करना शुरू करिए. वर्ड लिमिट, 20-60-20 रूल, एंड राइट. स्टार्ट डूइंग दिस, यू विल कीप इंप्रूविंग. आई विल कीप गिविंग यू मोर फीडबैक कि यहाँ पे पॉइंट्स में लिख सकते थे, यहाँ पे पैराग्राफ में लिख सकते थे. डिफरेंट स्टूडेंट्स हैव डिफरेंट अप्रोचेस and different approaches may be suitable for different students. Accordingly, I'll give you those things. Then Sohini is asking, sir, in private sector paternal leaves are given, then can we call the government to be playing a traditional role? No beta, even PSU's paternal leaves are given, paternity leaves are given. आप जाओ ना ONGC में काम करो, 15-20 दिन का पैटर्निटी लीव मिलता है. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में भी 15-20 दिन का मिलता है. बट वाई 15-20 दिन? Why not 3 months? Taking care of child. Child care is not a responsibility of women, it's responsibility of the parents. This is the message that we have to give. 3 months ka leave lo. Why should the changing of diaper ही पहनते हैं बच्चे, changing of diaper be the responsibility of mother? Father का भी उतना ही initial first 5-6 months में जो bond बनता है ना, that bond is very crucial. Father should have also the opportunity to have that bond with the child. Right? So leaves 15 days leave is given both in private sector, public sector, but we want this leave to be enhanced further to ensure that this traditional role which is imposed on women is not imposed. Okay, chaliye, thank you very much.